I want to show you something very interesting. That is a hazmat placard that you attach to the outside of a trailer. My name is Kevin. I'm a solo driver for CRETE Carrier, and you're watching The Joy of Trucking. I want to tell you a little story. I picked up a load down in Corsicana, Texas, pulled into a little chemical company. It was a live load, so I backed up to the dock, and they asked me if I had my hazmat endorsement, which I do. I got that the same time I got my license. It was just a matter of checking more boxes. You know, if you got your endorsements when you got your CDL, it allows you to do a little bit more work, more diverse loads and so on. In the 3 years that I've been driving a truck since then, I've picked up hazmats maybe every 2 or 3 months, you know, but it does mean you're available. You have that option of taking those loads if and when they come up. And it just saves you the hassle of having to go back and do it at a later date, you know, and it's one of those things you start procrastinating and maybe you never bother doing it, you know. Anyway, so down in Texas, backed up to the dock. It was a little chemical company. It was a live load. I looked at the paperwork, and what I had on board were 5-gallon pails stacked on pallets, wrapped in plastic, and it's those pool pucks, you know, those white pucks you put in a swimming pool in the little chlorine floater thing that floats around and helps keep the algae and kills bacteria and stuff out of your pool. Basically, I'm familiar with these things because I have looked after swimming pools in the past, and according to the paperwork, what I had there was trichloroisocyanuric acid, like 30,000 pounds of it. So that, I guess, is the hazardous ingredient in those pool pucks. Basically, I thought it was just chlorine, right? But it's a very complex chemical compound. So the reason for the hazmat classification, first of all, any hazardous material over 1,000 pounds on your load, you have to have the placards, you have to have the hazmat paperwork, and you have to have the endorsement to carry that kind of stuff and know all the rules and things you have to do. The paperwork and the placards are supplied by the shipper, so they fill it out and list, you know, what class it is, and the packaging has to be right, and it has to show how much weight, how much of the load is the hazardous material, all that stuff. The thing about these pool pucks, it's an oxidizer, as it says on the placard. So what that means is if it catches fire, it will accelerate the fire quite a bit and make it a lot more intense. Also, there's an inhalation hazard. If you ever looked after a pool and you went to grab some of those pool pucks, you open the bucket and you take a sniff, it actually hurts. It's bad for your lungs. It can cause pulmonary distress that can possibly be fatal. So don't go breathing any chlorine gases, all right? Anyway, got the load, got the placards from the shipper. You have to attach the placards to all 4 sides of the trailer. You have to keep the paperwork in the door pocket of the truck. You have to do a few other things that you learn in the hazmat training. For instance, be careful where you park. Make sure it's a safe place. Make sure that if you walk away from the truck, that paperwork is in the door pocket. So if the trailer does catch fire, the fire department can find the paperwork right away. As soon as they see those placards, they got to know what to do. So you also have your emergency response book in the door pocket, so they can check real quick and see what to do and what not to do with that material. Other things, check your tires. Every time you stop, you got to check your, just go around and feel your tires and see if they're getting hot, and check the inflation of the tires before you start. If your tires are under pressure, they'll start to get hot. Okay, they could even get hot enough to catch fire. Also, if you're, like, say you're going down a steep hill and you're riding the brakes a lot, the brakes will heat up. That can cause a fire too. Now just imagine if there was a fire back there in your tandems and it got to the trailer and all of a sudden it got to this oxidizer, which accelerates the fire, right? Now you've got a roaring blaze on your hands, and they got to know, they got to know how to deal with that, right? So the other thing you got to do before you get going is call the company, the safety department, and tell them you got a hazmat load, and they will say, you have your endorsement, make sure you check your tires, do you have all the paperwork, do you have the placards, what is the stuff you're carrying, what's the class, all that. They ask all these questions and make sure you know what you're doing, and kind of, you know, check in with you, like watch where you park and be aware of this and be aware of that. Here's another example. I got to a rest stop on my first night on the road. I was taking this load up to Rockford, Illinois, to another chemical company. First night, I pull into a truck stop, find an empty spot, back in, and I walk around the truck. I'm checking the tires. I'm looking around. The guy right next to me is a tanker full of liquid oxygen. I'm carrying an oxidizer. I'm no chemist, but oxygen and an oxidizer, I don't think that's a good combination. So right away, I fired up and I found another parking spot farther away from this guy. And just in case something happened to me or something happened to him, I wouldn't want the two things mixing, you know, while I'm asleep here overnight. Anyway, stuff to think about, right? When you're carrying hazmat loads, and be observant. Look around you, you know, think about it. Anyway, successfully made it up to Rockford, Illinois. Had a live unload there, got rid of the load. Took the placards off as soon as the truck was unloaded. While you have that stuff on board, those placards have to be there. As soon as you do not have any of that stuff in the trailer, those placards have to come off. You're also illegal if you're wearing placards on the trailer and you're not actually carrying hazardous material. That's, you know, you're going to freak out a lot of people if there is a situation and they're thinking you got some hazardous material in the trailer and there's not, right? So make sure you take those things back off again. That's about all I have to say about carrying that hazmat load from Corsicana, Texas up to Rockford, Illinois with a bunch of pool pucks. Seems like a very innocent thing, but apparently it's kind of a dangerous thing too. So think about that when you're cleaning your pool next time. There's one more interesting little thing, little coincidence actually that happened. With the hazmat endorsement, every 2 years DOT requires you to take a little refresher course, right? It's like just a little video thing and then a quiz afterwards. So I picked up this load on a Friday morning, and Friday afternoon I get a message from the company, from the safety department, saying, hey, make sure you do that little video course and quiz. It's a DOT requirement and you have to do it every 2 years, and Monday is your deadline. You have to have it done by Monday. And I had a little trouble getting into the video training program here on the tablet, and you can also have it on your phone, all that stuff, but there was a password problem. So I actually couldn't do it until Monday. As I was getting unloaded from this hazmat load, I'm sitting here doing the video quiz on hazmat endorsement at the same time. So it was kind of interesting, you know. It reminds you of a lot of the things you did in the training class, and a lot of things to think about while you're carrying a hazmat load. So it was just kind of funny how the two things happen at the same time, you know. And I did score 82% on the quiz, so I passed once again. Good thing, eh? I'll show you that placard one more time. Oxidizer 5.1 pool pucks. Imagine. Okay, thumbs up if you like this here video. Comments down below. Let me know what kind of hazmat loads you've seen and what you carry. And hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and we'll see you down the road. Bye for now.